Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and I'm going to be doing a 90s retro themed mani using the Maniology June Mani by Me box. Mani by Me boxes are no stranger to this channel. I was a long time subscriber, and while I no longer subscribe to it, every once in a while I will pick up a box just like as a one-time purchase just because I love them so much. For this June box, Maniology was kind enough to send it to me and I was really excited and grateful because I love these boxes. If you're not familiar with these boxes, they're monthly boxes that launch the 23rd of each month. Each month is a new theme. So for June is the 90s retro glow theme, and the plates that come in the box are exclusive to subscribers. So if you are a subscriber, you have access to previous month's Mani by Me plates as they are available. But we're going to go ahead and dive into this box and show you all the amazing goodies that come in the box. So each box comes with a little card that kind of gives you a description of everything that is included in the box. So if you're not sure, you can check it out and read about it here. Feel free to take a screenshot if you want to see what's included in June's box. It also comes with an inspo card each month, which I love because sometimes you get overwhelmed with the design. So this really gives you the possibilities and gets your creative juices flowing. And it also on the back shows you step-by-step instructions. So if you're newer to stamping, this kind of gives you instructions on how to use the contents of the box. And speaking of which, if you are a first-time subscriber, your first box will come with a free ice cube stamper and scraper card. So you have everything you need in that first box. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's in this June box. So each box, it does have a cute sticker that you can put anywhere. So this month, it's this really adorable snail, which I never thought I'd say that about a snail. And then the two exclusive plates for this box. So this first plate is MXM 153, which is kind of aura inspired designs that kind of give you like that airbrushed look without having to use an airbrush. So it's a lot easier to use. And I just think these designs are super cute. I love like the smaller designs. But if you prefer full nail designs, this MXM 154, this one's for you. So it also has like that airbrush type look with kind of like 90s retro trippy type designs. So this is really fun to use. So I like that you have smaller designs or full nail designs. You also get two stamping polishes in the box, and these are released to the mainline, but as a subscriber you get early access to the polishes. And I always love that the polishes are themed as well. So if you're not sure what colors to use, they're always perfectly paired with the plates. So for June, it's this purple and this neon yellow. I absolutely love the colors, and I will be using them for today's set just because I couldn't help myself. This purple is just so beautiful. This is VHS Violet B552. And then the yellow, this is Beeper Buzz B551. I love the names as well. And then each box does come with like a bonus gift. So for the June box, this bonus gift is a neon yellow pigment powder. So you get the little eyeshadow applicator. And then just look at how bright this pigment powder is. It is so fun. It is so 90s. And you know, I've been loving the neon lately. So the neon pigment powders are really good for like scrub ombres, things like that. So I just want to quickly show you what it looks like. A little bit goes a long way. So even though the jar seems small, this jar will last you forever. I'm not going to end up using it for today's mani, but I am excited to use it for a future mani because I love working with pigment powders. So that's the whole contents of the box. So each box, it is $30 a month if you're a subscriber, but if you only purchase it one time, it's $35 for a one-time purchase. So it is really nice that you can get a discount if you subscribe, and you can cancel or skip a box if you like the theme isn't really your jam for the month. You can always skip it and then you can keep your subscription, which is a really great option as well. But I do want to show you how to swatch the stamping polishes. So as you can see on the lid, like half the lid is white and half is black. So I really love this because when you stamp on top of the lid, you can not only see the color of the polish, you can see what the polish looks like on top of a base color. So you can see here like what it looks like on top of black, what it looks like on top of white. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the stamping polish looks like and what it'll go with when you're doing your mani. So you can really see that purple really well over whether it's over the white or the black, but you'll really see a difference with this yellow. So I'm just using one of the plates that came in the box. This is the MXM 154 because I wanted that full nail design. So I'm just doing the stamping and then I'm stamping on top of the lid. So you can see here, you can't really see the yellow as much over white, but you can see it really pop against the black. So this really tells me that when I'm using the yellow, I probably want to do it over a darker color to make it show up more. So I love that you have that option on all their stamping polishes. Before I get into the stamping, I do need a base color for my nails. So I pulled out these 3 dip powders from Mani Boss. For my 2 glitters, I have Lavender, Martini, and Lemonade Stand. And then as a base color, as a neutral, I do have Pink Paloma. So I did want to stick with the color theme of the box, which is why I pulled out a purple and a yellow. But for this Mani, I'm going to start with my solid color first because the other 2 are glitters. So my solid is Pink Paloma. This is a really great neutral pink color. It's not overly pink. It's not overly brown. I think it's just a really good, like, neutral nail bed color. So this is going to go on my middle finger only. And you'll see I have stamping planned for it, which is why I wanted a neutral base for my middle finger, but we'll get into that once I'm done. So this is going to be 2 dips only of Pink Paloma. So I'm starting with my first dip. I dipped in a second time just to make sure that that dip base was fully absorbed. Once the dip base is dry, I'm going to go ahead and dust off the excess powder, and then I'll go ahead and start in with my second layer. So I'm taking my dip base, I'm applying a thin, even layer of the dip base to the entire nail. I want to make sure that I don't have too much dip base to where it's getting on the underside of the tip. So I'm just being really careful, making sure that it's thin. And then once I have it covered in its entirety, I'll go ahead and dip into my jar of dip powder, tapping off the excess powder. And then I just like to press down, making sure that like the edges are clean, especially with these being press-ons. I want to make sure that it's not warping the shape of the dip powder. So that's why I kind of like to press in the sides, making sure that I'm keeping my shape as crisp as possible and pressing down. So I'm going to go ahead, dust off the excess powder. And then because this is my only solid, I'm going to go ahead and activate it before I get into the glitters. Now, normally for all my dip powder manis, I like to cap and clear before I activate, but because these are press-ons, I want to make sure that I don't have too much bulk, that these aren't too thick. So I'm going to go ahead and just activate it and skip the layer of clear, especially because this is a solid color. I don't have to worry about like filing through glitters or anything like that. The next color I'm going to use now that I have activated the solid nail is Lavender Martini. I love this color so much. It's such a beautiful light lavender color. It has hollow fine glitters in it, so it's super easy to use because it's not chunky glitters at all. It is just such a beautiful color. It's probably one of my favorites from Mani Boss, to be honest. But Lavender Martini, it's going to go on my thumb and middle finger. No, not middle finger, my ring finger. Because I'm making this set as press-ons, I want to make sure that my layers are as thin as possible because I don't want them to be bulky. I don't want them to look like press-ons when I wear them. I want them to look like I actually dipped on my nails. So I always am really cautious whenever I'm doing press-ons with dip powder because you can get bulk a lot quicker than if you were working with like gels or regular nail polish. So it helps working with like a solid or like finer glitters, as well as your dip liquids make a difference as well. So the Mani Boss dip base that I'm using, it's a bit of a thinner consistency, so it helps with the thinner layers as well. A couple of other things that you can do to create thinner layers, especially when you're working with press-ons, which I don't do, but I do want to mention, is instead of dipping into your dip powder, you could pour over, and pouring over your dip powder creates thinner layers. So that's always an option. As well as after I'm done with a layer, after my dip base is dried, you see I just take a regular makeup brush, like a softer brush, and I dust off the excess powder. If you want thinner layers, you could also, instead of using a soft brush, you could use like a stiff scrub brush, kind of like the stiff scrub brush that I use after I dip and clear, after my dip base is dry. It gets off more of the excess powder, so that'll help with thinner layers as well. finished with my 2 layers of lavender martini, and now I'm going to move on to lemonade stand for the remainder of my nails. I'm not going to cap and clear just yet, just because lemonade stand is also a glitter. So I'm going to wait till I'm done with these, and then I will cap the glitter nails in clear. So lemonade stand, it isn't a super chunky glitter, but it does have larger hex pieces in it. So I'm especially cautious with larger glitter pieces because those can also create bulk. So I really want to focus for my first layer on picking up more of the finer glitter pieces and not really worry about picking up those chunkier glitter pieces. So after I dip in, I'm making sure to press down because I want to make sure that everything's laying as flat as possible. I got pretty good coverage with just one layer because I dipped into the jar. It wasn't full coverage, but it was really good coverage. So I honestly debated leaving it at one layer because I knew I was going to do stamping on all the nails anyway. But I don't know. I'm just more of a full coverage person. So I did end up doing 2 layers. I don't think they ended up too bulky at all, but I did want that little additional coverage. So that's why I did end up doing 2 total layers. I kept all my glitter nails in clear, activated and filed and buffed everything off camera. So here's how the mani's looking. So now we're going to get into the stamping. I decided I wanted a tacky layer for my stamping because I wasn't sure how quickly I was going to work. If you work quickly, you actually don't need something tacky, but I wasn't sure how fast or slow I'd go. So I decided to just not risk it. So I decided to use my Mani Boss 2-in-1 gel base and top coat. I absolutely love this formula. It is a bit thicker though, since it's a base and top coat all in one. So if I cure it all the way, it's going to cure non-wipe. So it's going to be slick, and that's not what I need. So after I apply a thin, even layer of this to all the nails, I'm only going to half cure it so that it remains tacky. So I'm going to cure it for 30 seconds. If you don't want to use gel, you could always use an air dry sticky base coat. Maniology has a really great one that I love using all the time. So you would just apply it to the nail and then wait maybe a few seconds for it to not be wet, but it kind of dries down a little bit tacky. So that's kind of your sweet spot then where you can stamp on top of, and then your stamp will stick to it because dip powder is dry. So if you're working a little bit slower and your stamping polishes are generally faster dry. So if you're working slower and your stamping polish dries and you're trying to transfer it onto dry dip powder nails, it's not going to stick. And that's why it helps to have a tacky layer. After I cured for 30 seconds, I'm ready to get into my design. So I'm using VHS Violet and I'm applying a generous amount to the image I want to pick up. I'm taking my scraper card to scrape that down at a 45-degree angle. And then I rolled my stamper to pick up that image that I wanted. I got a little extra image, so I'm just removing that with a lint roller because I don't want that to transfer on my nail. And then this is going to be like a gradient at my free edge. So that pink Paloma nail on my middle finger, I'm just stamping that on at the free edge area. And it's just easiest gradient French tip ever. There is a little excess image that hangs off to the edge. So I just kind of tuck that in. So I just press into the sides so that image just kind of sticks in. And then I wanted a little extra. So I'm just taking the beeper buzz, applying that to the butterfly image, scraping at a 45-degree angle, rolling my stamper to pick up that image. I'm going to remove any excess image that doesn't belong to that butterfly. And then I'm going to figure out where I want to place it on my nail and then press down to transfer it on my nail. And because the gel base and top coat is tacky, that's why it just transfers so easily. The designs on this plate are more of layered designs. So I started with the outline and then they have like the inside. But the one thing I'll say is, and I tried with a couple of these images, the outlines look like they have like that airbrushed outside of the outline, and I could not pick that up. And I tried multiple designs. Like I picked up the outline fine, but like the airbrush outside of it, it just didn't pick up for whatever reason. So I struggled a little bit with that, and I'm still happy with the way it turned out. But I did want to mention that I was unable to pick up the airbrush outside of those outlines. I'm going to guess that because it's like a softer airbrushed look, that they're probably like shallower etched, and that's why it's more difficult to pick up. But either way, I was able to pick up the outline, which is the most important. So I'm going to go ahead, continue on stamping on the rest of my nails using both VHS Violet and Beeper Buzz, but I'm just going to kind of vary my designs, kind of taking inspo from what came on the inspiration card in the box. After I'm finished with my stamping and it's fully dry, I'd say probably a couple minutes, and I want to go ahead and seal it in and protect the stamping. So I'm taking the same 2-in-1 gel base and top coat and applying a thin, even layer of this to the entire nail. Now you do want to make sure that your stamping polish is completely dry, because if it's still a little bit wet, you could smear it, but I haven't had any issues with using a gel base or top coat after it's fully dry. It doesn't smear it. If I'm not using gel, I will go in with the Maniology Smudge Free Top Coat, which is an air dry polish first. And sometimes I'll leave it at that. Sometimes after that, I'll go in with my dip top coat. But I don't want to go in with a dip top coat directly on top of the stamping, because the activator will smudge the stamping. So you just want to be really careful, because you don't want to do all that work and then have it smear on you. After I apply my gel, I went ahead and cured it for a full 60 seconds, and then I applied my press-ons off camera using some sticky tabs. So now the only thing to do is to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles using my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. This is the scent Pixie Dust, and I absolutely love this scent because it's very light and subtle. I find it a very subtle, powdery type scent. So if that's your vibe, you'd probably really love this one. And of course, it's ultra hydrating. If you do pick anything up from Scales of Mermaid, I do have an affiliate code. So you can always use code Genie10 to save 10% off your orders and support me. But that pretty much wraps up today's Mani. And I love the way this turned out. This was all inspired by the June Mani by Me box. So a huge thank you to Maniology for sending this over. I had so much fun with this box. I just think it's such a cute, fun vibe. So I hope this video is helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this and also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.